we hear about these quite regularly through our media. But I wanted to focus tonight on some of the qualities that make for heroes, because I think that there is more to it than simply being in the right place at the right time. One of the qualities that occurred to me as I think about heroes is that of faith. Faith is about believing in a better future. When a soldier or a firefighter goes into a dangerous situation, they do so out of the belief that their actions can make a difference, that they can do something to change or better the lives of those around them. In the same way, you and I have the opportunity to have that faith in the world around us. We live in a world of cynicism. A lot of people would like to tell us that we're on the downward trend, that things are difficult, that times are hard. And yet we have the choice to have faith and have the belief that things can be better. Better in what ways? Well, we can have faith in the people around us. My experience has been that people tend to rise to whatever expectations are put upon them. If we can have faith in people in our lives, I think it will amaze us what we see in terms of their behavior. We can have faith in our profession and believe that what you all as graduate students have done is important to your communities, to your families, and to yourselves. That you can actually make a difference. At the core of faith is optimism. Now, I often run into people who say they are realists and that we need to be realistic. And my experience of that has been that realists are often people who have simply given up. And my urge to each of you is to not be realistic, to be unreasonable, to fight for change, to believe that you and the people you know and the communities you're in can be something more than they appear to be right now. Another one of the qualities that we see in heroes and often popularized is that of sacrifice. I think of the people who give their lives for our country, or for a friend, or for a neighbor, who make great sacrifice, donate a kidney, and do things that perhaps you and I may not be in a position to do. And yet it seems to me that sacrifice is as much about attitude as it is action. Sacrifice is a commitment to something larger than ourselves that will allow us to move forward in life. It's about giving up what is good, in some cases, for something that's better. These students know a great deal about this because they sacrifice what is good every weekend for 2 years. They give up time with family, time with friends, time sometimes to just relax and to let their hair down a bit so that they can pursue studies and become professional counselors. It is the daily commitment to sacrifice that yields great results, not the big moments. You don't have to be at the right time at the right place to make the kind of sacrifice that will make a difference. It is the small, seemingly insignificant things that we do that bring about change. It might be something as simple as seeing somebody that's down and taking 5 or 10 minutes to listen to what they have to say, hearing their concerns, taking time to think about what you've experienced during the day so that you can change some things. It might be about showing compassion when the popular thing to do would be to mock or make fun of like the people around you. It might be doing the right thing instead of the popular thing. All of these sacrifices, the little sacrifices that you make every day, are the things that lead to greatness, not the major sacrifices we so often think about. It was once said that it is better to live for a cause than to die for one. Ironically, a failure to sacrifice often leads to unhappiness. We're giving ourselves over to a cause greater than ourselves is the thing that often brings the greatest happiness in life. Finally, I'd like to talk about a third item that we don't usually think about when we think about sacrifices, or about heroes, and that's the topic of kindness. Tommy mentioned this a little bit earlier, and I think that she did a beautiful job helping us all understand that role in our lives. Kindness is one of those things that doesn't cost us anything, and yet can give us everything. Kindness allows us to forge foundations of relationships with other people. It allows us to forgive their trespasses. It allows us to forgive ourselves of our own trespasses. It allows us to see other people and ourselves not as they are, but as they can be, so that we can find peace and happiness in this life. When I think about heroes, it occurs to me that we often do not need to do great things, notable things, famous things, in order to be one. I can think of one particular hero of mine who never attended college, never had any kind of steady employment that I'm aware of, never wrote a book, never sang, never was particularly popular in social circles in his time, and yet that carpenter's son from Galilee did more to make a difference in this world than perhaps anyone else. We all have the opportunity to be heroes. And we don't have to be the most talented. We don't have to be the smartest. We don't have to be the greatest. But we have to have the ability within our hearts to have compassion for other people, to make sacrifices when sacrifices are sometimes difficult. I'm reminded of a time several years ago. We were preparing to move to Kentucky, and our children were getting their eyes examined, getting their prescriptions updated. And as we were at the optometrist's office, the doctor came up to me and said, Mr. Parsons, when's the last time you had your eyes checked? And I said, well, I can see just fine. I don't need to have my eyes checked. And he said, well, when's the last time you had your eyes checked? I said, 1976. And he said, well, it won't cost you anything. If you'll just sit down, I'll check them out for you, and we can see if anything needs to be done. I said, I can drive just fine. I can read just fine. I don't need glasses. He said, really, let's just take a moment and check this out. So I sat down, and he did his test, and he came back to me a few minutes later, and he said, Mr. Parsons, you need glasses. I said, no, I don't. I can see just fine. And he said, no, you really do. I said, no, I don't. He said, here, I want you to take this lens. He had a lens from a pair of glasses. He said, I just want you to stick this in front of your eye and look over at that wall and tell me what you see. And so I took the lens and I stuck it over my eye, and I looked, and I went, oh, that's what that looks like. Turns out that from birth, I had astigmatism, and it was just a little bit harder for me to see. Took a little bit more effort than perhaps other people. But I had no idea, because I'd always been like that. And until I had that lens put in front of me, I didn't realize that there was a different way of looking at the world. One of the most heroic things that we can do in life is to take the opportunity to see the world differently. And these graduates have done just that. Now, the reason that I picked the topic of heroes is because I've seen heroism in every one of these students. There is not one of them sitting here today who has not overcome incredible personal challenges, struggles, sorrows, griefs to be here. And I think that there's something we can learn from each and every one of them about what it means to be a human being. I'm just ever so grateful that I've had the opportunity to know these students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parsons. At this time, we would like to have another selection from Jade Brad, please.